Good evening, delegates. On behalf of Arizona State University and Model United Nations Far West, I would like to welcome you all to the 62nd session of Model United Nations Far West. Before we get in too deep, I'd like to share a story, one that has been alluded to throughout the four previous speakers. According to legend, in the city of Gordium, what is now Turkey, there was a knot that could not be undone. Many tried their hand at untying this knot, and many failed to do so. In his conquest of Asia Minor and the Middle East, Alexander of Macedon, who would eventually be known as Alexander the Great, tried his hand. However, instead of attempting to untie the knot, Alexander unsheathed his sword and severed the knot. The solution of an age-old problem had not been solved utilizing outdated methods that continually failed. Instead, Alexander sought to and achieved solving the problem with a new method of thinking. In this spirit, we devised the theme for the 62nd session, Cutting the Gordian Knot, addressing the international community's greatest problems in the 21st century. The theme of this year's conference has been criticized for focusing on unilateralism and militarism as a viable technique for problem solving, especially with regards to the United Nations. Our focus, however, is not on the unilateralism employed by Alexander the Great. Our focus instead is abandoning outdated methods of thinking in order to solve problems that are approaching a half-century of having been on the United Nations agenda. The Palestinian question and the question of the Western Sahara are just two examples of issues that can benefit from a little 21st century thinking. Personally, I stand in front of this body representing a culmination of my Model United Nations career. The opposite bookend is sitting on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly in New York City for the opening session of a collegiate conference as a high school student. I cannot tell you who spoke or what was discussed in committee, but I can tell you that it was an experience I will remember for the rest of my life, and one that opened the door to something that has been a large portion of my life for the past 7 years. I'm sure the course of this conference being an experience that what you get out of is directly related to how much you put in has been echoed by advisors and returning delegates alike. Quite frankly, it's true. Without having put as much as I have in this conference, I can guarantee that I would not have returned for a second year, let alone the 7th. In this spirit, I encourage all delegates to put forth every effort in the next 5 days, to find consensus, to work together in order to find modern solutions to ancient problems, and to reach across the aisle and working with people and students from literally all over the world. Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce